A bench of Chief Justice of India, Sanjeev Khanna, and Justice Sanjay issued notice to the state government on a plea by the Sambhal Shahi Jama Masjid Committee. The court has sought response from the Uttar Pradesh government by February 21st, 2025 by asking it not to give effect to the notice which was sent by the Nagar Palika. Now, the state government submitted that the situation around the place was peaceful, but the applicants sought to create an issue. And senior advocate Huzaifa Ahmadi, appearing for the mosque committee, submitted that a notice issued by Nagar Palika called the well being used for ablution purposes as Hari Mandir. So the big question is that why is Nagar Palika now getting into an affair like this when Supreme Court has completely put a stay on this? Now, this matter is posted for February 21st, but then in another matter where Yogi government has faced a setback is another matter where on Thursday, Supreme Court had ordered status quo on the construction of housing units under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana at a disputed site in Lucknow's Jiamau, whose ownership is claimed by the sons of the late gangster turned politician Mukhtar Ansari. Now, in 2020, Lucknow Development Authority had bulldozed the bungalow that belonged to Ansari and his sons, including Abbas Ansari. The government plans to build flats on the land under the PM Awas Yojana. So this double whammy for Yogi government, and what is the main politics behind it, and what is the legal position on this? Joining me now is Supreme Court lawyer and constitutional expert Sanjay Hegde with us this evening. Thank you so much, Mr. Hegde, for joining on HW News. And
thank you for having me.
Yes, sir, my pleasure. And I'll begin today's discussion with actually what Supreme Court has said on the well which is there around the Sambhal mosque, which the Nagar Palika said that it should be like a Sri Hari Mandir. How do you really make out this intervention of the Nagar Palika in this particular case, where Supreme Court has already said that we will not take forward these matters,
Well, the Supreme Court stay has not been taken kindly by the administration. Ultimately, court orders have to be obeyed by everyone. That is the basis of the rule of law. And court orders, you can appeal to a higher court. And when the Supreme Court, higher than the Supreme Court, there's no other court. So when the Supreme Court says something, it is final, it has to be obeyed. There was this attempt to create a dispute about the Sambhal mosque. At which point of time, there was also the question of the Places of Worship Act as to whether it covered, it maintained the status quo as on 1947 for all religious structures in the country, except the Ayodhya site. And the Supreme Court stayed proceedings everywhere. Now, that order obviously cannot be challenged or is likely to endure for some time till and when the main matter is heard. What is being sought to be done is to undermine the order by saying, okay, we're not touching the mosque per se, but on the mosque, at the periphery of the mosque, there is the well. The well is part of, there are people who think it is a temple and all that, and then from within the well also, according to some people, what some people have told me, there can be claims to be caves and caves which will lead to temples. And so the Supreme Court today basically has said, look, once we've ordered status quo on a site, please do not try to use an Americanism, get cute with us. Therefore, whatever is the situation, do not precipitate anything.
No, but Mr. Hegde, do you think that the administration is deliberately trying to, go in for a contempt of the Supreme Court order? It would obviously be seen as a contempt of the Supreme Court if they have already put a stay on this, and if the Nagar Palika is going ahead and lacing up this case with various facts. Is it not tantamount to contempt?
Well, it is an attempt at it. Whether that attempt has to succeed before contempt action is drawn by the courts, that is another question. everywhere it is that constant tug of war, trying to say, okay, can I at least do this? Can I not do this? Can I not do this? And the courts have been constantly saying no. When we say no, it means no. At some stage, some officer may just push it a bit too far, or there may be some situation which, because of such actions on the part of the administration, then gets precipitated. At that point of time, I believe the courts will take a very dim view of any officer who has taken this course. Just to tell you an example from American constitutional history, when desegregation happened, many of the southern states were not the US South. Those states did not really want desegregation. Even the president at that point of time, President Eisenhower, would have much rather had the South do its own thing. But he took the view that once the Supreme Court has passed a judgment, it was his constitutional job as head of the state to effectuate the judgment. He did not say, Justice Earl Warren has passed his judgment, let him implement it. Right now, the administration in India, in Uttar Pradesh, seems to think that, the Supreme Court may say anything, but we can continue to do things with business as usual.
Right. But Mr. Hegde, I also want to understand from your perspective that, the posters had been put up around the Sambhal and near the mosque, indicating the location of the historical wells, and therein the mosque has been shown as a temple. Now, these posters also bear the indication that they have been installed by the Nagar Palika. Now, is Nagar Palika then trying to become an extra judicial body or some kind of an extra administrative arm of the Yogi government, where they think that through the Nagar Palika now they can circumvent what Supreme Court said? I mean, is this a new kind of a pattern you see?
The Nagar Palika is also part of the government of a state to a certain extent, though they constitutionally, panchayats and Nagar Palikas also have a constitutional status, but largely they go by the directions of the state government. And yes, the state government might be trying to use the fiction or the judicial personality of the Nagar Palika as an excuse. No, I did not do it. Somebody who's sometimes subordinate to me did it. This, again, is a subterfuge which, when examined critically, will not stand.
What do you really say to the conduct of the civil courts? Now, if the civil courts are not doing anything and the Nagar Palika is doing it, but eventually what happens? And do you think that the Supreme Court stay, which was put in force last time, will it have any bearing on the civil courts, or rather you will see them continuing as they were? Will they have the audacity to?
I doubt that the civil courts will be as receptive to what the state or the plaintiffs who claim that every mosque is a temple. I don't think that civil courts will very easily run counter to what the Supreme Court has said. It's very unlikely. There may be an odd civil judge who might think that he is not subject to that Article 141 of the Constitution does not apply to him, that the law declared by the Supreme Court is not binding on him, but that can be taken care of on the judicial side. However, what really troubles me is the attitude of the administration. Administrators must know that for the rule of law to run, everybody must obey the law. And that means citizen and government alike. And that is why we have courts who are independent between the citizen and the government. And once a court says something, then it has to be obeyed. It's like saying that, okay, I will play test cricket, but I will not listen to the umpire.
No, but Mr. Hegde, I also want to talk about the attitude of the ruling government in Uttar Pradesh, and I'm talking about Yogi government, that if it is indulging in activities like these where they really have disdain for the courts, what the courts are saying, and they continue with their agenda not in one but many places and digging up wells. Sometimes they're talking about digging up dargahs. What is the ultimate goal? Of course, there is a Hindu card which is trying to play, but what does it do to the state's social fabric there?
The state social fabric it does not seem to be the concern of the administration. They want to constantly tell their core voter or their what used to be called the fringe earlier, but is their core voter now, that look, we are fighting for you with the courts themselves. It will take time, but we have not given up the fight. And therefore, whether through the Nagar Palika, whether through some actions on the ground, through the plaintiffs or through other administrators, there are constant attempts to circumvent the court order. But courts also know when to crack the whip. Sometimes
But
a long rope is given.
Right. No, you're right. But what is your feeling looking at the conduct of the Yogi government, that last time when the Supreme Court had put a stay, and if again the Nagar Palika has now come in between and then they are trying to do all these kind of activities, do you think that the Yogi government in its own way is trying to circumvent the Supreme Court? Because, okay, if the route A doesn't work, then okay, we'll explore the route B. Is this a tendency which you see on the part of the Yogi government?
Of course. It has always been the tendency of the Yogi government.
Right.
Even when there were orders passed during the CAA protests about that you cannot name people against whom you are threatening to recover money for damage to public property, and you can't put their posters up. Some Yogi officials apparently may actually put out more of those posters on routes that the judges took from their houses to the court. So there often is an unstated kind of aggression to say that you may say whatever you want to sitting in your courtrooms, but implementing them on the ground, you will not come there and do it. We Absolutely. Have to do it. We may or we may not do it, depending on what we feel about your orders.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.